Anybody that criticized Taylor Swift is a complete jackass.
So do we have an old angry white jackass complaining about the old angry white
Yes,
jackass?
that's exactly what we have. But isn't it just... It drives me insane.
I found it totally ironic. Hey, folks, welcome back to The Unrestricted.
Oh, hi.
Vex, Walter,
Happy
Bob,
holidays.
How are y'all? Happy holidays.
I don't know. It's
I don't know what
shitty.
it is.
It's shitty outside.
It is terrible.
Yeah, but it's
Again.
not cold.
Yeah, that's
I
a little
hate
bit
the
better.
freaking cold.
No,
but it's
no,
gonna get
no,
cold again.
no. When it's like this, it should be cold.
I guess.
It has to be the whole package. It's kind of like leaving me this and this. I don't know what it
package.
is.
Wintry mix.
Yes.
No, I don't want that crap. The whole city shuts down.
Yeah.
We don't have one
What?
gallon of salt to put on the roads, for Christ's sake.
It gets cold and the whole city shuts down. Apparently, we can't have heat in our schools.
Oh, it's really an
Yeah, we
embarrassment, isn't it?
discussed that last week. Yes.
It's just an atrocity. No, this weather sucks. So Walter walks in and up the elevator telling me a story about his first time eating gummies. All
Yes.
right, I cut him off because I kind of wanted this on air. All right, so quickly.
All right, so I get into these gummies because I got a little back issue going on. This was a couple of years ago. And so take one gummy, not working. A couple of Advils, nothing's happening. And I could just about move, folks. So I thought to myself, this gummy thing isn't working. Let me pop another one. So I chew another one.
It's not working. Let me
we're
take
up
more.
to 2. So we're up to, yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it, Bob? Now that you think about it. Let's try more if it's not working.
More of nothing.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm up to 2 gummies, maybe an Advil or 2, and I come to the conclusion, screw this, I'm just going to go down to the Texas Med Clinic, get a shot of Toradol on my ass, and I'll be good in a couple hours. That's cured me before. I'll be fine with that.
I know
No
how
problem.
this ends.
I go, you know what? Before I do all that, because I don't really love getting a Toradol shot because it's not good for your health. Let me chew one more thing and see what happens. Maybe it'll make me feel better. I won't have to go down to Med Clinic. I chew it. I wait about 15, 20 minutes. Nothing happens. I go, screw it. I get in the car. I drive to the Med Clinic. Now, I live on Wild Horse.
Please don't give your location because law enforcement is going to be out there a little bit later.
Wild Horse Parkway in that area, and the Texas Med Clinic is on Bandera in 1604. So it's a 2-minute ride, okay? I've driven that access road between the Med Clinic and my house 1,000,000 times, okay?
And always remembered it until now.
I get to the Med Clinic. Doc, what's going on? I tell him what's happening. He gives me a shot of Toradol. Okay, sir. Go sit in the waiting room until, we get cleared to go home, and then you can go home. I said, okay. So I feel fine. I still don't feel any effects of the gummies or the Toradol for that matter.
Or the Advil or anything
Nothing.
else you took.
Nothing. All of a sudden, however, it kind of hits me in the waiting room of the Med Clinic, and I can't wait to get the hell out of there. Nurse says, Mr. Pasquini, you can go home now. It's like, oh, fantastic. I get in my car. I start driving. Now, I'm not impaired in any way, and I swear I'm not in any way. I'm driving home, again, on this 1604 access road between Bandera Road and Braun, that I've driven 1,000,000 times, and I'm driving down that road, and all of a sudden it hits me. I don't know where the hell I am. I go, holy shit. I did not know where I was, and then all of a sudden I hit a landmark, and I go, oh, that's right, that's where I am. I go, oh my God, I got to get home real quick.
I bet you wanted out of that doctor's office so fucking bad.
No, it's really
a terrible place to be.
It didn't hit me until I was in the waiting room waiting to go home.
Oh, okay.
They put you in a little sit-down area, so whatever, any after effects.
Walter.
And it's like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I panicked.
Don't you know?
Where the hell am I?
Don't you know this is everybody's first gummy story?
I've never heard that.
Literally everybody. 100% of gummy takers on their first try go, this isn't working. I'll take another. This isn't working. I'll take another. And
I did not know this.
This is exactly how it happens to everybody.
Now what I need to know is where's my next bag of gummies?
You can sponsor the show. Give us a call.
That's right. That's exactly right. Johnny's Gummy Bears Incorporated.
The first one really does work. Actually, that's the slogan. Gummy Bears. The first one really does work.
That's a great idea.
That's perfect. I love that idea. I'd be more than willing to sponsor them.
All right, boys,
Talk
let's
about
get to sports because we had a wonderful round of football playoffs this weekend. I mean, I'm so entertained. I love watching these games. I'm looking forward to this weekend. Last night in the NBA, a historic night of scoring. One of them, unfortunately, against our Spurs. I've got a weird story from the G League to tell you guys about, and an amateur one on the PGA Tour for the first time since 1991.
Yeah, imagine that.
And some guy named Aaron hit a hole-in-one in Vegas.
I saw that. Aaron
Allegedly.
Rodgers made a hole-in-one.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
There's
Yeah.
some people that think it's a hoax and it was photoshopped or whatever.
Aaron Rodgers' whole life is a hoax.
He deserves for people to call it a hoax. After all the things he's called a hoax,
Yes.
I'm glad he's getting it back in his lap.
I'm with you. I agree.
Okay, where do you want to start? Football or Spurs?
No, start with the Spurs last night. And,
I agree.
you know, for all the complaints that the Spurs fans have always given everybody about their lack of national attention, they were all over ESPN SportsCenter last night. Unfortunately, it was for the wrong reasons.
It was not a great performance from the Spurs.
Well,
They
not
actually-
defensively.
Yeah, they made it a competitive game, which is almost surprising that they stayed like in some ways in touch.
They've been closing better lately.
Yeah, and they did last night, but they could not stop Joel Embiid. He went for 70. He torched every defender that went his way. What struck you about that?
Well, I listened to most of this game because I was in the food truck last night, so I'm listening to Bill Schoening tell the story. And you know, it was kind of interesting to listen to it because you didn't get a lot, and maybe this is on the audio or whatever, but there wasn't. I didn't get the feeling there was a lot of excitement going on in the building last night in Philadelphia.
Oh no, there was. I was watching the second
Okay.
half. There was plenty. At one point, I want to say they took him out of the game, and the Sixers fans booed because they wanted Embiid to keep going.
Well, that must have been late in the fourth quarter, but maybe he's already got 25 points in the first quarter,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking they're not excited. I'm curious why that's maybe because they're playing the Spurs and nobody's at the game because nobody gives
Yeah.
if you're going to go to a game this year, it's not going. I don't know. I guess there's still a draw to watch Wemby play, but. I mean, you're gonna. This is not a game I'd want to watch because you're gonna end up beating the Spurs by 25 points more often than not. So
I would
that's
want
what I
to
was
watch
thinking.
Wemby versus Embiid, and I made it a point to get home in time
Okay.
to see the second half because I wanted to see Wemby versus Embiid. And look, Wemby played well, in his own right.
He got 33, I think. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
33 and a couple decent highlights. You see
19.
that?
How many
that
rebounds
just
did he
like
have?
finger
19,
roll?
15, something like that. Yeah.
Fabulous stuff from him, but like he also gave up 18 points while guarding Embiid. Okay, in the one-on-one matchup.
Oh, that one where Embiid just like totally backed him off. It
Yeah.
was like a wisp of paper. Ooh, bye.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about Embiid's performance last night is the way he was able to do it. He had some Shaq like beast to him. He had the shooting. He had the free throws. He had his whole game going. And look, we know Joel Embiid is damn near unstoppable when he gets going. And the Spurs sure as hell don't have the right guys to guard him. Jeremy Sohan wound up guarding him in the fourth quarter. Hey, Pop, do you mind sending a double team? Do you mind sending a double team? Sohan can't guard him. He's 6'8". Zach Collins gave up 23 in their one-on-one matchup. So those are the guys that mainly guarded him.
I think it's interesting that we all of a sudden we have all these bigs in the NBA starting to dominate again like we used to have years ago.
So that is a great point, and it's one I wanted to get to today because Karl Anthony Towns last night, right after Embiid sets it at 70, I tune into the T-Wolves game, and Towns has 44 at the half.
Yeah.
He's got 8 threes, and it was either 58 or 60 heading into the fourth. And I was like, holy shit, we're going to have two guys go for 70 on the same night.
That's exactly what KD said after the game last night when Durant was asked about, what'd you think of the performances last night, 70 and 60? He goes, well, you got 70? Shit.
Yes. Well, KD's response was really interesting because he called this the peak of basketball, and I think he's right. I mean, you got these big dudes who can take it to the rim. They can do the Shaq kind of stuff where they just beast you into the bucket. They can shoot the mid range, and both Embiid and Towns can step out to 3-point range and stroke it. You know, Anthony Towns calls himself the best big man 3-point shooter of all time, and he's kind of not wrong. I mean,
he's never to me. Towns he's been a player who doesn't bring it every night.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the effort there every night. And so I would never want him on my team. But occasionally he'll show you his greatness like he did last night.
He's super talented, but I'm with you. He has, for the most part in his career, proven to be not a winning player. Yeah. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
And did you see the post-game presser?
With
for the
T-Wolves?
Yeah. Incredibly immature.
Yeah.
Called his own team.
Yeah. The coach called his team.
Oh, yeah.
Incredibly. And they were. Like, I watched that game. I mean, you let the Hornets come back from, I don't know, it was pretty much 20 points down in the second half to win that game on your home floor in Minnesota. Like, that's a fucking embarrassment, man.
You know, all the NBA needs now, you got all this big scoring going on. You got these big guys here. All the NBA now is missing is one of their players to hook up with some big female musical person. I mean, who would that be? Who's next in line? I don't even know.
I don't know.
Doja Cat.
But,
who knows?
Doja Cat.
I don't know.
But isn't? I mean, from the outside looking in. I mean, again, I'm not the NBA nerd you guys are, but it seems like there's point inflation in the NBA.
There's a lot of that.
Like today's 70 is a decades ago 60 or 50.
I mean, there's truth to that, but I also think the skill level of players is just. It's just changed, man, since I started watching in 1981. Like, it's just completely different.
I think Bob's point is the key, though. The defense that you were allowed to get away with. I mean, back in the Knicks Miami Heat games back in the 80s, it was all grab and push and all that kind of stuff. Now it's just a freewheeling kind of all-star game kind of NBA where guys just go run up and down the floor and hit shots, and that's what people want to see, I guess, because the NBA is more popular now than it's ever been before.
I don't want to discount how talented these big guys are.
Sure.
No.
I mean, historically, when big guys went for 70 plus, we'll talk about Wilt or whoever you want to, it's because they were bigger than the competition and they played bully ball and they shot 1 million free throws. Like, that's how they got to 70. But not these two guys. They're doing it with skill combined with some bully ball, but their skill level at 7'3" for Embiid and 6'11" or 7 foot for Towns, it's pretty amazing. And Wemby over 7 foot. I mean, it's completely incredible.
Yeah, and there was a highlight last night also of Embiid like seeing Wemby on the floor and kind of like looking at him going, I guess he is tall.
Oh, I didn't get to see that. I got to look that up.
You mean there'll be no iconic photograph of Wemby dunking over a 6'10" guy and making him look like a mouse? No? That picture won't come out last night?
First time the NBA has had 2 60-point scorers on the same night since. Anybody want to guess?
I saw this, but I don't remember.
1978.
Wow.
George Gervin versus David Thompson. Last game of the season for the scoring title. We've all heard the story of Gervin wanting to get the scoring title and playing just a little bit later than David Thompson in the evening and wanting to go get it. And he did. The Spurs are at the halfway point. How do you feel about them? Do you want to kind of grade them out at the halfway point? Where are they compared to your expectations?
They're right where I expected them to be. I didn't expect, I had people tell me, they're going to win 40 games. They're going to make the playoffs. They'll be, at the very least, be in the 7-10 game. And I go, did you not watch this team from a year ago? I mean, this team was the worst team historically, defensively, and they can't hit threes. And guess what? They're not much better than they were a year ago. They're still awful defensively, and they're not very good at hitting threes. Nothing's changed for this team.
And Spurs fans always forget, Walter, that other teams play in the Western Conference too. Like, just because the Spurs improved their roster doesn't mean that we got better than the other teams around us. The Kings, the Nuggets, et cetera, young teams. the Rockets, the Thunder. I hate it when people just say, well, our roster improved, so we're going to win more games. No. Did it improve compared to the teams that you're trying to get better than in the West? And they didn't. And to your point, I think you're right. They're exactly where I figured they would be, near the bottom of the league.
No, they're at the bottom of the league.
No, they're the bottom of the Western Conference. They're third worst.
Yeah, and look, at least they're not Detroit. I mean, Detroit is actually worse this year with Monty Williams and with another year of experience than they were last year.
Yeah, Spurs are third worst in the league at 8-35.
It's not great.
Maybe they would be. I don't know. I thought they'd. Vegas had them at 23 games, 23 wins. They're basically, maybe they're a little bit short of that, but at that, when you're, at 23 wins, who cares whether you're short or not? Does it make a difference?
21 versus 24, who cares?
Doesn't matter. But, I said it weeks ago. This is a team that's, you're going to be in the draft lottery again. You get yourself a second grade player, and away you go. And then you go from there.
Yeah.
It's gonna take time, and that's it.
Here's the thing. To this point, midway in the season, the Spurs have played a lot of good teams to really close games, and I've enjoyed those games. I mean, I'm thinking specifically about the Suns and the Bucks. Those were really good performances from the Spurs, even when they lost. And it was always my goal at the beginning of the year. I said, hey, if we lose every single game, all 0 for 82, but we lose them all by less than 10 points, then I'm going to be happy. And that hasn't really come to fruition because they get blown out about once a week, right? They get blown out by 30 or 40 about once a week. And I don't think anybody's learning a damn thing when you lose by that much. But it's a developmental season, and I think they're doing just that. They're developing. To this point in the season, I would say that I'm unimpressed still with Sohan. I thought he would make a jump. Keldon Johnson has not taken a step up the way I hoped he would, playing alongside Wemby. And Devin Vassell, frankly, has been too inconsistent for me to be thrilled with his performance midway through.
I think the injury got in the way of Vassell's improvement during this season, and we'll see what basically what the second half looks like. I've been pleased with him. Sohan's still a project. Keldon Johnson is going to find himself off the team at some point, whether it's the trade deadline or next or in the offseason, whatever. He's not long for this franchise. And you just, they're going to try to find pieces that are going to fit here with Wemby that makes sense, and to slowly build a championship around him. And, that's basically where you're at.
Trade deadline, February 8th.
Okay.
Figure the Spurs to make a move?
Yeah, I would think they'll try to move Keldon Johnson.
I think there's a move coming too. Yeah. For the first time in a long time, I
We'll
think
see.
the Spurs are
See what
actually
happens.
going to make a move. Ready to go to the NFL?
All right, let's go.
Let's go. I thought it was an awesome weekend, particularly Sunday with the two competitive games. Your 49ers, let's start there because they got away with one.
No.
They stole a win.
They did not deserve to win that game.
But they did.
But they did because that's what championship teams do.
Oh man, what a wild game
that was. That was crazy. I mean, Purdy looked
like somebody named Brock Purdy.
Pedestrian.
He looked worse than that.
He looked uncomfortable. Their offense looked incredibly out of sync. And whether it's Debo being knocked out, whether it's Purdy not being comfortable in the wet, doesn't like his balls wet. Could have been a little bit of rust. I don't think it's rust because it's Kyle Shanahan.
I don't know,
but
I think that was a factor.
But I think the fact that Debo got out and he was plugging in somebody who doesn't have Debo's skill set and he wasn't able to really make adjustments quickly enough, and the team had practiced with Debo leading up to that it made them out of sync. But they made great plays. I mean, Purdy had some awesome balls.
What about his balls?
They were awesome.
He had some awesome throws. That pass to Kittle in the end zone, that pass to Jennings in the middle.
Yep.
He had a couple of really, really nice balls. And that last drive to take the lead, that is what we haven't had for a while. And I think that serves to start to answer the question, do I want Purdy at the end of the game? Am I going to put a game on Purdy's shoulders and go, this guy's going to go and win.
Yeah,
it for
he
me.
was 6
No.
of 7 on that final drive. It was certainly his best drive of the night. And his only the only incompletion was that horrible Kittle drop. So he should have been 7 of 7 on that final series.
And if I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, I'm like, why the hell are we still measuring where the ball is using technology that goes back to when freaking professional football started, like in 1910?
With leather helmets. Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love that call that it was short on 4th down. Great, awesome. But why are we not relying on like technology to know where the ball is in space?
Yeah.
So
They, to me, the one thing I'll take from this game is that the Niners are definitely susceptible. They're definitely beatable. And I didn't think of that before this game, but at this point, I would expect the 49ers to lose before they get to the Super Bowl.
No way. They're not losing to the Lions. They're not losing at home.
You can see it.
The Lions are not an outdoor team. If this game was in Detroit, I would like their chances a whole lot more. I think it, in a weird way, Walter, I think this might have been exactly what San Francisco needed.
Maybe.
Because they were off 18 days or 20 days, something like that. They come out and, frankly, they get their ass kicked by the Packers for the first pretty much 2.5 quarters, 3 quarters.
yeah, they got their ass kicked, but who was leading at halftime?
Obviously, they were still in the game.
And the Packers gave that game away. So, but I think I'm with you. I like this game. I like this game for what it does to set us up. I also like the fact that we lost to the Ravens and got embarrassed by the Ravens.
Yeah.
I like those games because I think it sets us up to go, okay, we laid our turd and we won.
Yeah, and now let's get serious. Let's
just
focus
get serious.
in and take this damn
There's
thing all
just
the
too
way.
much talent on the field and off the field.
It's
I'm
gonna
taking
be
Detroit.
It's going to be big. It's going to be massively important whether Debo gets healthy.
50-50 he
And
plays.
He's hurt all the
Yeah.
time. They should be prepared for
Yeah.
when he gets hurt.
And I really wish it wasn't my 49ers playing Detroit because I really would like to get behind the Lions story.
yeah,
I mean, Dan Campbell, that guy's a barbarian, but you gotta love him.
he's interesting because he's proven to be a way better head coach than I thought he would ever be. Do y'all remember his weirdo press conference when he got the job?
Oh yeah, biting the kneecaps
Yes,
and just
he won
struggling
it.
up and
We're
eating
gonna
them.
get up off the floor and we're gonna out-man you, out-tough you. It was like a caricature of
Yes,
a football coach.
yes.
He won the
really-
press conference
It
that
really
day.
was. Oh, I thought it was just ridiculous acting. Like, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? He's
But-
not going to play with NFL athletes because NFL athletes know that it's not about just playing tougher. It's about being talented. But you can't go to a group of millionaires and say, we're going to be tougher and we're going to bite them in the knees. That's what you tell your 8th grade team, Walter. Like,
I don't-
NFL athletes don't go for that usually.
But 3
it's
years,
working.
but 3 years on, they do go for
Yes.
that. And 3 years on, that man is exactly that man he was
Yes.
3 years
Yes.
ago.
It's
I want
working.
that guy to be the coach of my team because my team isn't tough enough. His team is tough. I want a coach that instills toughness in my football team, my basketball team, whatever team. That's what I'm looking for. So, I'm
You like Man Campbell. Man Campbell.
Yeah, and they got the job done against the Buccaneers. I didn't expect the Buccaneers to go any further. The Texans impressed me in that first half, and I was expecting them to come out in the second half, but no, the Ravens came out and just destroyed them. in the
Awesome
second half.
season from the Texans, Bob. Awesome. I mean, Stroud and D'Amico Ryans together looks like a pairing that we're going to like for the next, 7 years?
Yeah, finally
I mean,
a team in a South division that we can actually think is good.
Well,
They
now
were in this game for
they
a
need
half.
pieces, obviously.
They
A lot
do.
of- they
And they
need more stuff.
And Walter, I think, we've been talking about it for weeks, that they just weren't healthy, right?
Yeah.
And it finally came up to bite them in the ass being unhealthy, I
And
think.
listen, you played one of the best quarterbacks in football in Lamar
Yes.
Jackson, who on Saturday started to answer that question of whether he can get it done in the playoffs. First quarterback since 48. You want to get a stat? First quarterback since 48 to have 2 touchdown passes, 2 touchdown runs, 100 yards rushing, and a 100 passer rating in the same game
Since 1948?
since 1948.
Holy shit.
And on top of that, he apparently made the halftime speech of all halftime speeches. Nobody wanted to talk about it. I guess because it was just nothing but cursing and all that kind of stuff. But he was the difference on Saturday in that second half. And listen, he just led the way, and that was the end of the Houston Texans season.
And then it capped off on Sunday night with Chiefs-Bills. And I couldn't feel worse for Bills fans. I mean, that is one of the most tortured fan bases in all of sports. Throw them up there with the Browns, the Lions.
You had fans crying in the stands.
Saw that. I mean, like a grown-ass
When was
man.
Bob, when was the last time you cried?
I think I watched Marley and Me.
That
Marley
was a
and
good
Me.
one. I cried in that one too. I cried in that one too.
But I mean, even going to other sports, it's the Cubs.
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of the Cubs of the NFL.
Yeah.
No, screw the Cubs.
Except for the Cubs finally won after 100
I cry
years.
every season at the Jets. What are you kidding me?
The
But-
Mets.
The Jets, the Mets, the Knicks,
But-
the Islanders, all of them.
But no, and for it to be
I
kind of
never
the,
stop crying.
and for it to be kind of the same end call, wide right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a
Wide right.
shame.
It was
it's
brutal.
an absolute shame.
Did y'all notice when they came back from commercial for that kick, the lens of the camera was at the far end of the stadium, and it went like through the uprights, zooming in on the other side of the field. And as it passed the uprights, you could see those little like fluorescent ribbons at the top of the goalposts, and they were just whipping from left to right, just whipping. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, fuck. He's going to slice this.
Yeah, but he knows that. He's obviously been in that stadium 100 times.
You're right.
And he's admitted as much. He said, I know better. I know where the wind is going, and I didn't cut it enough.
He
and that's the way it goes.
shanked it.
Yeah.
He
And-
shanked it.
But listen, that's the way it goes.
And the Chiefs should have put that game away. I mean, they had that goal line and fumble it through the end zone, which I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about that rule.
You really? It's
Yeah.
the worst rule in sports.
Well,
There's no question it's the worst rule. Listen, this is and I'll ask you guys, what should it be? To me, this is what it should be, because you don't know in this play in a rule. If you're making up a rule, first of all, you're not going to know where the line of scrimmage is. So it could be anywhere. It could have been a play that happened in the 40-yard line, the 20-yard line,
Sure.
or first and goal. So
Sure.
you don't know exactly where the line of scrimmage is going to be. The problem is the penalty is obviously too punitive. There's no question about that. We can agree, though, the offense needs to be penalized in some way. But should they lose possession? Yes or no?
so this is tough.
Really?
Yeah. I used to be
yeah.
with you on this. I used to be with you. I was like, worst rule in sports. Then I started talking to a buddy of mine, and he's like, every fucking thing in the entire game is rigged for the offense. Whether it's pass interferences, fumbling the ball out of bounds, you maintain possession, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the rest of the field.
Yep.
Yeah, but the other team didn't grab the ball.
That is the illogical thing to me, Walter, is that it's the only time that a ball isn't recovered in the field of play and changes possession.
Yeah, so that makes no sense.
The only way where I could find it to be logical is something incredibly punitive to the offense where they don't lose possession. Like it's a 30-yard, like
30?
like
Put 'em
take,
back
Yeah,
at
but
the
it could-
50.
it could
take
be.
that ball to the 20 or take that ball back to the 30.
All right,
I think take him out of
and
field
loss
goal
of
range
down.
too. Put him to
And loss of
put him to
down.
the 50. But like it is a squirrely rule. There's no doubt about it. But I kind of like that it's so punitive, because you see people do this fucked up crazy thing where they stick the ball out 2.5
Yep.
feet outside
Yep.
their bodies. You don't really see that in the rest of the field of play. It's just not smart. You're exposing the
you
football.
see that all the time when guys try to get the first down.
Yeah, but not
They try to
usually
extend.
not usually with one hand backwards. I mean,
Listen, as the head coach of the Chiefs said after the game, listen, our players are instructed, do not reach. We know it's a very risky play. Don't do it. Hardman did it. But here,
God.
so this is what I'm thinking. So, and obviously the biggest penalty in sports is well, not in sports, in the NFL, is a 15-yard penalty. So here's what I propose. Make it a 15-yard penalty from the previous spot.
And loss of down.
from the
Okay,
previous
lost-
spot and lost
okay.
it down.
So if you score, say you run up a big run from the 30-yard line,
Yeah.
well, it's 15 yards from that, and you're back at your own 15. If it's first and goal at the 10, 15 yards, you're back at the 25. And listen, if it's one of those long plays, it should be a bigger penalty because this is next level stupid when you extend a play. So I'm with you on that. But
so the Bills got fortunate. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They were fortunate even to be in the game. They got a lot of breaks. They went for it on fourth down in a situation late in the game that I didn't feel like they should have. Just punt it away and play some defense. Look, I realize that Mahomes is still Mahomes, but his talent level around him is just not the same talent. It's not Tyreek Hill anymore, guys. They can't score in 13 seconds the way they used to. Like
Kelsey is too distracted because of the girlfriend thing. Clearly,
no. Kelsey is too distracted because of his brother,
and he's too drinking Bud Lights, shirtless.
Let me go down that road real quick. And I'm not sure if we talked about this last week, but this just incensed me. These old freaking white assholes that talk about this whole Taylor Swift thing is ridiculous. There's so much of her. Get her off the TV. Shut the hell up. First of all, if you had Taylor Swift is the best girlfriend in the entire world. Stop this nonsense, would you please? I mean, here's a girl. Here's a woman who is obviously gorgeous. She's completely loaded, and she'll go to your football game and cheer you on no matter what temperature it is. And you're going to criticize her? Are you kidding me? Wait. You sound like a jackass. Anybody that criticized Taylor Swift is a complete jackass.
So do we have an old angry white jackass complaining about the old angry white jackass?
That's exactly what we have. But isn't it just... It drives me insane.
I found it totally ironic that Jason Kelsey was pounding Bud Lights. The same thing that triggers all middle-aged white guys. Bud Light.
But what I loved is, so he gets his shirt off, he jumps out of the luxury box, and apparently somebody was lip-reading his wife in the back of the luxury box, being, get your ass back in here, Jason.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it was great. Look, I want to say this about the Bills. I did not feel like they played to win that game. They lost a little bit of their aggression. They changed their play calling a little bit. Allen didn't use his legs on the final drive, which I thought he should have. I understood milking the clock to under 2 minutes and trying to limit Mahomes and his ability to come back and strike back. But Mahomes was going to need a touchdown. He doesn't have Tyreek Hill. Yeah. Kelsey is not the same Kelsey. Like, you got to push that ball to push it into the end zone. You've got to try to score a touchdown there. Do not satisfy yourself with a 48-yard field goal. Not good enough by me.
Oh, well, first of all, I think it was 44 yards.
44,
and listen, and the kicker's got to make the kick.
He does.
I mean, 44 yards right now is a chip shot for NFL kickers.
Yes, it is.
It just is. And listen, we're talking about the arguably the greatest quarterback in NFL history in Pat Mahomes. And think about this, folks. He came from Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Texas Tech. He was 3 years. And here's a football program in Texas Tech. I made this point the other day on social media. That school is completely irrelevant when it comes to football. College football on the national stage, nobody talks about Texas Tech. They haven't talked about Texas Tech since the Pirate was there. And here you are. This guy is after we saw Tom Brady, well, there'll never be another Tom Brady. Well, there is. There's Patrick Mahomes.
6 straight.
Unbelievable.
6 straight conference championship games.
Just
for
amazing.
Patrick Mahomes.
It's amazing. And by the way, he wasn't the only Texas Tech quarterback playing last weekend. Who was the other one? Former Tech quarterback, Baker Mayfield. Yeah. Started his career at Texas Tech.
Who statistically had an awesome season.
Yeah. And he looked good the other day. I mean, until he threw a game-losing pick, but he was good.
But here's the thing with Josh Allen. He's going up against Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And at some point, it's just obviously very difficult to break through. He didn't get through, and Patrick Mahomes lives another day.
Yeah, he lives another day. He's got to go on the road again. He's got to go to Baltimore, and he's going to play probably the league MVP in Lamar Jackson.
Tough defense.
Do you know the line offhand? I do. I'm curious what you would guess it is, Walter.
Yeah, I think I did see it. I think Baltimore's favored by 3.
3.5. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Do you feel like that's right?
It's an even. Baltimore's home. It's an even game.
I feel like it's an even game, too. I'm
Yeah.
surprised it's not a pick 'em.
Well, it's 3 points for being home, so that's it.
If it's anybody other than Mahomes and Reed on the other side, I think this is a lot more tilted towards the Ravens. The Ravens, I mean, roster-wise, top to bottom,
Yep.
better team.
Yes.
Better team. But Mahomes has the pedigree to get it done in the big game when the lights are the brightest. Okay, Lamar Jackson is now 2-3 in the playoffs, but I'm still going to hold that over him until they get it all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Harbaugh's a really, really good coach too, but I don't know. Mahomes and Reed, I don't know if I would bet the Ravens and lay more than 2 or 3.
I like the Chiefs on the road in this game. I mean, Mahomes is just terrifying. And frankly, betting against him just doesn't feel good.
That and that's okay. I don't care. And I don't care which one of these teams wins. We're getting our revenge back on either one of them.
Who's we?
49ers.
Oh, I forgot you played for them back in the day.
Clearly.
Okay, so I was thinking about this, Walter, the other day.
Okay.
I think the worst unit that is left in the playoffs is the Lions' defense. But I don't know who the best unit left playing is. I think it's the Niners' offense with Debo.
With Debo, yes.
Yeah.
Without Debo,
They're dominating.
Yeah.
They can run it right down your throat.
But without him, I don't think they are.
I
I think it might be the Ravens' offense.
If it's not the 49ers without Debo, it's the Ravens.
It might be the Ravens' defense.
I don't know.
God, that Ravens D is good.
Yeah, so's that offense. It's
Yeah.
a good team. It's a good team.
I know, that's just it. Is the Ravens are in the conversation for having the best defense left in the playoffs and the best offense.
I don't know about that.
Who's the better defense?
49ers. I mean, the only reason the 49ers won against the Packers is that defense was stout that entire game. When they needed to do it, they did it.
Yeah, I'd still take the Ravens defense. What do you got, Wally? I see you looking at something.
No, I was just bringing up the games on Sunday. So you got Baltimore 3.5. You got San Francisco 7 points at this point. I will take. I like Detroit to pull the upset, and I like Baltimore over Kansas City.
I think it's a pick 'em between the Chiefs and Ravens.
Okay.
It's just so hard to bet against Mahomes. I have to stay with it.
I agree.
And I like the Niners to win big against the Lions.
And I'll go pick a little bit of a different thing. I'm going to take the over in the Chiefs Ravens, which is sitting at 44.5. I think that's a low number for that game. I think it could be a shootout.
Yeah, that's 22 points aside. That's not a lot.
And I may actually take the under in the Lions 49ers, which is 50.5.
Okay. Well, there you go. There's our Las Vegas insider, Bob.
One more quick NFL thing I saw this morning, that the Eagles replaced their offensive coordinator. I think that probably means Sirianni keeps his job.
Yeah, after all this time, I was thinking he was going to stay.
Yeah,
so.
there's a presser tomorrow with Sirianni and the GM, so all indications are he's staying.
Yay, good for him.
All right, news and notes. Give it
All
to
right,
me.
real quick. Price of tickets and ticket fees are completely out of control, as most people know. I think we talked about this last week, but the 3 tickets at Toyota Field for the U.S. men's national team game on Saturday cost me $67 a piece, but with taxes and fees, it was over $300.
The fees.
Yes.
They drive me nuts.
On top of that, make it even worse, the parking at the stadium, whether it was Toyota Field or at the high school football stadium right next to Toyota Field, $35 to park your car.
Are you serious?
I am very serious.
That is a lot.
Yes, it is
to
a
watch
lot.
the Team USA lose.
Yeah, and it was these were the rookies and the guys that are trying to make the team. But listen, my kids and I, we had a great time. It was 91 in attendance, the largest crowd ever at Toyota Field.
That's
awesome. We had a good time. And we froze our ass off. It was freaking freezing.
I had wanted to go to that, and I'm glad I didn't, frankly.
All right, and I'll give you this. I'll leave it because we're almost at 40 minutes here. We talked about this last week as well. The Uvalde report came out this week,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll give you this one. This is to me the most outrageous fact that came out of this whole thing was the victims' families are being ostracized by their own neighbors in Uvalde. The families down there, they want names, they want justice for the folks who didn't go in and try to save their children. As the AG said this week, If they had gone in there when they first got there, they would have saved lives. Obviously, they didn't go in there, and they didn't save any lives. But the folks in Uvalde, they want the families to move on from this and not go after their sons or their dads.
Sorry.
It's awful. What a
Terrible situation. It's
And
such a small community.
oh.
You know, anytime you're trying to call out somebody who is a public figure, whether it's a police officer or something else, or a school official,
Mhm.
anytime you're trying to call somebody out, that person lives within like 3 miles of you.
Yeah,
Because it's Uvalde.
as one of the folks said, they go into a store and they see a police officer there and they wonder, was that one of the ones that could have saved my kid?
That's got to be awkward.
But at the end of the day, I mean, it's situations like that for police officers are kind of like, soldiers in combat. If you're not trained to deal with the situation, yeah, you're going to lock up and you're going to think about stuff. But if you're trained, that is the one thing about the DOJ report that I did see, is that they really harped on the fact that none of these guys were trained. None of these officers on the scene that were first responders were trained in active shooter situations. And unless you're trained in an active shooter situation, you're going to react really, really weird. I mean, I knew this when I was in the Navy. I was taught to shoot under stress. If you're not taught, if you're not trained, if you don't have the muscle memory for it, yeah, you may back off.
But when it's 376 to 1, you don't have a leg to stand on. You got to figure out a way to get in there. The other couple other things was the children who got shot were bused to the hospital without medical attention, while dead children were hauled away in ambulances. It's just mind-boggling.
What?
Another child was dragged out of the classroom and died on the sidewalk. Just insane. I thought we wouldn't hear anything different on during the press conference, and we heard a whole bunch of stuff that was just drove you to tears. Just unbelievable.
No, I mean it's a small community, and we shouldn't have to be worrying about training all of our people in small communities for mass shooting, mass death events. That's a sad state of affairs when we want our small towns to be trained for an armed individual stepping into our schools and taking hostage and killing kids.
Yeah, but you know what it should be at this point. I mean, Columbine was 25 years ago.
Wow.
It should have been done by now. If you haven't done it, if they haven't trained their officers and listen, there was more than just local police. There was the school police. There was like I said, 376 law enforcement people there for one shooter, and they couldn't take him out.
There were 376
376
on the scene?
On the scene, yes.
At one point. I mean, when they had all of the tactical response, they had Border Patrol tactical response. They had,
that's
a lot of high level.
Of course it
events.
was.
That's
Terrible.
embarrassing.
Absolutely terrible.
Anything else from your side? I got one.
No, I was just going to leave it with this. On the Truck Wally Facebook Live show is going to start this week. It's something new I'm going to do. So time and date to be announced. I think I may do it tonight. It depends on what the weather looks like. But
what are you going to do?
This will be a no holds bar, whatever the hell I want to talk about.
Okay.
How about that?
Sounds great. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, there
is
you
it
go.
going to be on YouTube or?
It'll be on Facebook Live. So there you go.
All right. Sorry.
It's okay.
Breaking story this morning as I was coming into here, and I can't wait to look it up. Last night, apparently, some G League players went into the stands after the game. It includes, usually when you're talking about G League players, you don't even know their names, but you guys will recognize this one probably. Imani Bates. He was the former #1 player in his class.
Silent Master?
Nice.
He was a former #1 player in his class. He wound up at Memphis playing for Penny Hardaway, and he's basically been a real disappointment with where his projections were.
Okay.
But the NBA at this point has not given any details.
Where did this take place? No idea.
Somewhere in the southeast, like Georgia or Alabama.
All right.
I forget where. The NBA has not given any of the details surrounding the event. And I am interested to see what happens with that. Hopefully it is not a Malice in the Palace type of thing. I'm interested to see how this shakes out. Sharif Abdur-Rahim is the commissioner of the G League. We'll see what kind of punishments he doles out.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, ESPN's not reporting anything on it.
Yeah. It's very under the radar at this point.
And Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is going to be on the board of the TKO group, the parent organization for UFC and WWE
Oh, yay.
and UFL.
NBA trade. Hornets trade Terry Rozier to the Heat for Kyle Lowry and a 2027 first-round pick. How about that?
Okay. All right. That's really good for Miami. He's going to help them. Kyle Lowry wasn't. The big thing there is that Terry Rozier was rumored to be going to Los Angeles to help them out at their point guard spot. I think it's almost a foregone conclusion, Walter, that DeJounte Murray goes to Los Angeles at this point.
Yeah, he's not, as we talked about last week, he's not coming here because he's just not.
But I think LA wants him, and I think that's
Yeah.
where he's going to wind up,
And we'll
especially now that Rozier had been rumored to go to the Lakers, but
Yeah.
now he's with the Heat. That's a good trade.
Good defensive player. I like Rozier. He's a good player.
trade.
Yeah.
And Hornets get back some cap space because Kyle Lowry's in an expiring deal. Thanks, guys. Like and subscribe.
Enjoy the weather.
How y'all feel out there? Do you feel good? I said, do you feel good? Come on. The groove feel good when it make you move. Make your next move your best move. I said the groove feel good when it make you move. Make your next move your best move. It feel good, don't it? It feel good. It feel good cause you know it's good. Hey, it feel good, don't it? It feel good. It feel good cause you know it's good.